3 days ago, I received a text that stopped me cold. It was from Sarah, a 34-year-old marketing executive. I tried what you taught me. Day three, I was sitting in my car before a client meeting, and suddenly I remembered. I remembered who I was before the world told me who I should be. I cried for an hour. Then I walked into that meeting as myself for the first time in 15 years. What Sarah discovered wasn't therapy, positive thinking, or meditation. She stumbled upon a technique that's been deliberately hidden for over 3,000 years, not because it's dangerous, but because it makes people impossible to manipulate. Look, I know how this sounds, but here's what's happening. People are using this ancient practice, and within days, sometimes hours, they're remembering something they forgot they ever knew. Their authentic self. If you've ever looked in the mirror and felt like you were staring at a stranger wearing your face, if you've ever caught yourself thinking, this isn't the life I wanted, but couldn't remember what you did want, if you've ever felt like you're living someone else's script, then what happened to Sarah could happen to you. But I need to be completely honest. This isn't a quick fix. When you remember who you really are, everything that's not authentically you becomes impossible to ignore. Some people call this inconvenient. I call it liberation. If you're ready to remember who you were before the world got its hands on you, hit that like button and type ready in the comments right now. Because in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to walk you through the exact same process Sarah used. The forbidden technique that helps your soul remember who you really are. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. When was the last time you made a decision based purely on what felt right to you, not what others expected, not what seemed smart or safe, but what your deepest self actually wanted? If you're struggling to answer that, you're not broken. You're experiencing what I call soul amnesia, and it's epidemic. Here's what nobody talks about. From the moment we're born, we're trained to disconnect from our authentic selves. It starts innocent enough. Don't cry so loud. Be a good boy. Smart girls don't act like that. Each comment, each expectation, each should layers over our natural knowing like sediment covering a diamond. Sarah told me something that broke my heart. She said, I realized I hadn't made a single major life decision for my authentic self since I was maybe 12 years old. College, career, relationships. I chose everything based on what would make others proud or what seemed responsible. I forgot I was even allowed to want what I wanted. But here's the thing that gives me hope. That authentic self never actually goes away. It just gets buried. And there are specific techniques, ancient ones, that can help you excavate it. Now, I need to tell you why these techniques were hidden. Throughout history, people who lived from their authentic selves were problematic. They couldn't be controlled through fear, shame, or social pressure. They made decisions based on inner wisdom rather than external authority. Institutions figured this out quickly. Educational systems that reward conformity over creativity. Work cultures that value obedience over innovation. Even well-meaning families that push practical choices over passionate ones. The result? Millions of people living lives that look successful on paper, but feel empty inside. Like Sarah sitting in her car, suddenly remembering she used to love writing poetry before someone told her, you can't make money from that. The technique revealed what I'm about to share comes from three sources. Ancient wisdom traditions that understood human consciousness, modern psychology research on authentic self-expression, and real-world testing with hundreds of people like Sarah. This isn't mystical fantasy. Researchers at institutions like Stanford and Harvard are now confirming what contemplatives have known for millennia. Beneath our conditioned personality lies what they call our core authentic self, the part of us that remains consistent throughout our entire lives. The three-phase process. Phase one is what I call the great unmasking. Phase two is awakening your inner compass. Phase three is living from your center. Each phase builds on the last, And yes, we're going to do parts of this together right now. Phase 1, the great unmasking. Grab your phone or a piece of paper. I'm serious. We're doing this together. Write down 3 beliefs you have about yourself. Maybe it's, I'm not creative, I'm not good with people, or I'm not smart enough. Just 3. Don't overthink it. Now here's the question that changes everything. Whose voice do you hear when you think these thoughts? I guarantee if you really listen, you'll hear your mother, your 3rd grade teacher, that kid who bullied you in middle school. Sarah wrote down, I'm not artistic. When she really listened, she heard her father's voice saying, art is a hobby, not a career, when she was 14. For 20 years, she'd been living by a judgment made by someone who never even tried to understand her. Next, list all the roles you play: employee, parent, friend, whatever. Feel into each one. Which ones energize you? Which ones drain you? The energizing ones? Those are expressions of your authentic self. The draining ones? Those are masks you're wearing to survive. This isn't about abandoning your responsibilities. It's about showing up to them from your real self instead of from a performance of who you think you should be. Phase 2, your inner compass. Now that we've started clearing away what isn't you, let's wake up what is you. Your inner compass, that part of you that's been quietly trying to guide you your whole life. The authenticity breath, bypassing mental noise. Now I know what you're thinking. How does breathing bypass all the mental chatter in my head? Here's the ancient secret that Tibetan monks and Hindu mystics discovered thousands of years ago. Your breath is the only automatic function you can consciously control, making it the perfect bridge between your unconscious and conscious mind. Put one hand on your chest, one on your belly. When you breathe consciously, you're literally rewiring your nervous system away from the fight or flight state that keeps you trapped in mental loops. In through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 2, out through your mouth for 6. But here's the key that ancient traditions knew. With each breath in, you're not just taking in oxygen, you're drawing back pieces of yourself you gave away. With each breath out, you're releasing everything that was never yours to carry. This isn't visualization. This is how consciousness actually works. Do this with me right now. Don't just watch, participate. Sarah said this simple practice helped her distinguish between her thoughts and everyone else's thoughts for the first time in years. The mental noise doesn't disappear. You just stop identifying with it. The inner flame recognition, ancient wisdom made practical. I need to share something that connects Egyptian mystery schools, Sufi traditions, and even modern neuroscience. For over 4,000 years, wisdom keepers have taught that consciousness has a seat in the human body, what they call the heart center, not the physical heart, but an energetic center in your chest. Modern research is now confirming this. The heart has over 40,000 neurons, more than many brain regions. It generates the strongest electromagnetic field in your body. When ancient mystics talked about heart wisdom, they weren't being poetic. They were being anatomically accurate. Keeping your breathing relaxed, I want you to sense into the center of your chest. Not with your mind, but with your awareness. Imagine there's a small, steady flame there. Not because I'm telling you to visualize it, but because you're remembering something that's always been there. This isn't visualization. This is recognition. That flame represents your authentic self, the part of you that was there when you were. Phase 3, living from center. The final phase is where everything changes, not just how you feel, but how you move through the world. This is about aligning your daily life with your authentic self. Finding your frequency. Every person has what you might call a soul signature, a unique way of being that's unmistakably you. It's not a personality type or a label. It's more like a frequency, a quality of presence. After practicing the breathing and inner flame recognition for a few days, try this. Sit quietly and ask yourself, what does it feel like to be me at the deepest level? Don't think the answer. Sense for it. Sarah described hers as curious stillness. She said, I realize that underneath all the anxiety and rushing, there's this part of me that's naturally curious and naturally calm. When I operate from that place, everything flows differently. The daily integration, body awareness as your guide. Here's how to bring this into your everyday life and why your body is actually your most reliable guide to authenticity. Your body never lies. When something is aligned with your authentic self, you feel energized, even if it's challenging work. When something is misaligned, your body contracts. Tight shoulders, shallow breathing, that feeling of heaviness. First, morning check-ins with body awareness. Before you engage with the world, spend 5 minutes asking, what does my authentic self want to create today? But here's the key. Notice how your body responds to different possibilities. Your chest will literally expand when you hit something true. Second, the full body authenticity filter. Before saying yes to anything, don't just think about it. Feel into it with your whole body. Does your breathing become deeper or shallower? Do your shoulders relax or tense? Your body is constantly giving you feedback about alignment. Third, evening body scans. Instead of just thinking about your day, feel into it. Scan from your head to your toes and ask, when did my body feel most alive today? When did it feel most contracted? This reconnects you with your authentic responses. Sarah said these simple practices transformed everything. I realized my body had been trying to tell me for years that my job was wrong for me. I just never listened. Within weeks, she was making choices she'd never had the courage to make, not from her head, but from her whole being. What to expect? Let me tell you exactly what this process looks like, because I want you to be prepared. And let me address the question I get most. How do I know this isn't just spiritual bypassing or wishful thinking? The beautiful disruption, ancient wisdom in modern life. Here's what connects all wisdom traditions, from ancient Egyptian mystery schools to Zen Buddhism to indigenous shamanic practices. They all understood that authentic awakening always involves what they called the sacred disruption. When you start living authentically, everything that's not authentic becomes obvious. This isn't a crisis, it's clarity. But I need to be honest. Some relationships will deepen beautifully when you become real. Others will naturally fade when they were based on your false self. Careers that once felt tolerable may start feeling suffocating when you remember who you actually are. The Sufi poet Rumi wrote, let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray. This isn't about abandoning responsibility. It's about showing up to your responsibilities from your authentic center instead of from fear or obligation. Sarah said the hardest part wasn't changing her life. It was watching how some people reacted to her changes. When I stopped being who they expected me to be, some people got really uncomfortable. But the people who truly love me, they said I finally seem like myself. The energy shift, why this technique works differently. Here's what you can expect practically and why this approach is different from positive thinking or therapy. Decision-making becomes easier because you have an internal compass that doesn't lie. You stop second-guessing yourself constantly because you're operating from a deeper knowing than mental analysis. Your creativity will likely explode. When you're not using all your energy maintaining false personas, that energy becomes available for creation, connection, and genuine contribution. Ancient alchemists called this transmuting lead into gold, converting the heavy energy of pretense into the light energy of authenticity. The challenges, I won't lie to you, this path requires courage. Living authentically in a world that rewards conformity can be lonely at first. You might face resistance from people who prefer the old version of you. But here's what Sarah told me last week. I thought being authentic would make me selfish, but it made me more loving. When I stopped trying to be what everyone else needed, I became genuinely helpful instead of just people-pleasing. The ripple effect. Here's something remarkable. When you start living from your authentic self, you give others permission to do the same. It's like tuning fork. Your authenticity awakens authenticity in others. Sarah now runs workshops helping other corporate professionals reconnect with their authentic selves. Not because she became a guru, but because living authentically naturally inspired others to question their own masks. The liberation. When you remember who you really are, you stop needing external validation because you're connected to something unshakable inside yourself. You stop fearing other people's opinions because you know they're responding to your masks, not to you. You stop chasing love and start expressing it. You stop seeking purpose and start living it. You stop trying to find yourself and start being yourself. The daily reality. This doesn't mean life becomes perfect. It means life becomes real. Problems don't disappear, but you face them from your center instead of from fear. Challenges become opportunities for authentic expression rather than threats to your image. Sarah said, I still have bad days, but I don't have fake days anymore. Even when I'm struggling as myself, not as some performance of who I think I should be. The community. If this message resonates with your soul, please subscribe to this channel. We're building a community of people committed to authentic living, and I want you to be part of future conversations about real transformation. And if you're truly ready to start this journey of remembrance tonight, type "ready" in the comments below. When I see those comments, it reminds me that there are souls out there who refuse to live someone else's life anymore. The promise. You are not who you think you are. You are not the collection of roles, fears, and expectations that others have layered upon you. You are something far more magnificent, a unique expression of consciousness, temporarily wearing a human costume. The technique to remember is now in your hands. The only question is, will you use it? Sarah's last message to me said this: I wish I could go back and tell my 15-year-old self that she was already perfect, that all the trying to be someone else was unnecessary. But since I can't, I'm just going to live the rest of my life making up for lost time, as myself. Your soul is calling. It's been calling your whole life. Today, you finally have the tools to answer. The person you were before the world told you who to be is still in there, waiting. It's time to come home.